All right, so are you ready to dive into something really fascinating with me?
I am.
You know how some languages have like these super interesting stories?
Mm-hmm.
We're going deep diving into Welsh today.
Oh, cool.
You sent over some really great material on it,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to kind of unpack this with you.
Yeah.
So like, where do we even begin with a language that's been around for centuries?
Okay, so I think the best place to start is with its origins.
Okay.
We have to kind of rewind all the way back to the time of the ancient Celts.
Okay.
And, they were spread out all across Europe.
Right.
And the ones who ended up in Britain, they spake this language called Common Brittonic.
Okay.
Now, Common Brittonic, you can think of that as like the grandparent
Okay.
on a family tree.
Right.
With branches sprouting out over time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those branches that kind of went off and became its own language is what we know today as Welsh.
Interesting.
And it went through all these different stages.
Okay.
So it went from primitive Welsh to Old Welsh to Middle Welsh.
So it's not like overnight changes. It's like this really gradual thing.
Exactly. It's like a slow and steady transformation over generations.
Wow. And what's really cool is that I was reading that Middle Welsh, which was spoken around the 9th to the 14th centuries,
Right.
is actually somewhat understandable to modern Welsh speakers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Isn't that fascinating?
that's a direct line to their ancestors.
It is.
Like, I wonder if that makes them feel more connected to their history.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a very powerful thing to be able to connect with the language of your ancestors
Right.
in such a tangible way.
Yeah.
But, as with many languages,
Yeah.
Welsh has had its share of challenges.
Right.
For instance, the Industrial Revolution led to a decline in Welsh speakers as English became the dominant language of industry and opportunity.
Right. It makes sense. Like, people probably felt pressured to learn English to get ahead.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what was it like for those who continued to speak Welsh during that time?
It was a very difficult period for the language. There was a real push for assimilation. And sadly, some children were even punished for speaking Welsh in school.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
What was that about?
It was called the Welsh Not.
Okay.
And it was essentially a way to discourage the use of Welsh in the classroom.
Wow.
It was a dark chapter in the language's history.
Yeah.
But, it's important to acknowledge it because it really highlights the resilience of the Welsh people.
Yeah. It's incredible to think that even in the face of those challenges, that the Welsh language survived.
Exactly. And you see, while industrialization and these social pressures did lead to a decline in Welsh speakers, the language never truly disappeared.
Wow.
It was nurtured and kept alive in homes and communities and through cultural traditions.
So like a tiny ember just refusing to be extinguished.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, what was the turning point? When did things start looking up for the Welsh language?
Well, I think, the ember was always there, but it was fanned back into a flame by individuals and organizations who really passionately believed in the importance of preserving their linguistic heritage.
Right.
And they established Welsh medium schools. They campaigned for legal protections for the language.
Okay.
And this leads us to a really exciting development. The Welsh government has set a goal to have 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050.
1 million. Now that's ambitious.
It's huge.
It really is. That's incredible. It definitely sounds like a comeback story in the making.
It is.
But what are they doing to reach that goal?
So they're taking this multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
One of the biggest things is investing heavily in Welsh medium education. So the number of children attending these schools has been steadily increasing.
Okay.
Which is a really huge indicator of the future of the language.
Yeah, it's like raising a generation of fluent speakers who can then pass the language down to their children.
Exactly.
And I read that the Welsh government also granted the language official status. Does that mean that it's used in government settings and things like that?
Exactly. It means that Welsh can be used in courts, government documents,
Wow.
and other official settings.
Wow.
It really secures its place in modern Welsh society.
That's incredible. So from ancient roots to like this modern day revival,
Right.
Welsh is proving that it's here to stay.
It is.
This is already so fascinating, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, there's so much more to talk about.
I know. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. It's easy to get caught up in like the historical aspect of it.
Right.
But what's really cool is it's considered by UNESCO to be the least endangered Celtic language.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I have to admit, I'm really curious to hear what it sounds like because
Yeah.
you've been talking about all this history.
Right.
Like, what does it actually sound like?
Be prepared for some sounds you might not expect.
Okay.
Welsh has these consonant clusters
Okay.
that might seem a bit intimidating at first.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a phonetic language.
Okay.
So once you learn the rules, you can pronounce pretty much anything.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
I'm always that person who mispronounces things.
Right.
But tell me, what does Welsh actually sound like?
So like hello, for example, is hello.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But then you have words like long,
Okay.
which means ship,
Okay.
and chwerthin
Orson.
for to laugh.
Wow.
So those consonant clusters
Yeah.
can be a bit of a mouthful.
Long. I can practically hear the ship horn.
There you go.
You know, as intimidating as those consonant clusters sound, there's something kind of delightful about them.
Yeah.
It's like they add to the character of the language.
Right.
Speaking of character,
Yeah.
any quirky facts about Welsh that we should know?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, give it to me.
One of the most fascinating things about it is their counting system.
Oh, okay.
It's vigesimal,
Digesimal?
which means they count in groups of 20 instead of 10.
Wait, hold on. Counting in 20s. How does that even work in practice?
So basically, for numbers 11 through 19, they say X on 10.
Okay.
So 11 is 1 on 10 and so on.
Okay.
Then from 21 to 39, it's 1 to 19 on 20.
So instead of saying like 25, it would be 5 on 20.
You got it.
Wow.
And then they kind of build from there.
Oh.
So 40 is 2 20s, 60 is 3 20s,
Okay.
and so on.
Wow, that's wild.
It's a completely different way of thinking about numbers.
You know, I've always wondered how people in the past counted.
Right.
And this just makes so much sense to me. I wonder if it affects how Welsh speakers think about math in general.
It's an interesting thought.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're wired differently.
Yeah.
But speaking of unique systems,
Yeah.
we should touch upon something you mentioned earlier, the Welsh. Not while it was a dark period for the language, it's a crucial part of understanding its resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a testament to how culture can be suppressed, but never truly erased. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Yeah.
Except instead of fire, it's fueled by their love for their heritage
Right.
and their determination to see it thrive.
Mm-hmm.
But let's zoom out from the history and like the nitty-gritty of the language itself.
Yeah.
How is Welsh actually used in the world today? So we've talked about the history,
Right.
the unique features,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's making this like modern day comeback.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are some ways our listeners could actually like experience Welsh culture for themselves?
Well, I think a really great place to start is with Welsh music.
Okay.
There are so many talented artists out there,
Yeah.
from traditional folk music
Right.
to contemporary bands singing in Welsh.
Okay.
You might be surprised by how much you enjoy the
Yeah.
unique sounds and rhythms.
Yeah. Do you have any favorites you could like recommend?
Yeah. There's this band called Nineback that I really love.
Okay.
And they blend traditional Welsh folk with electronic influences.
Oh, cool.
Really unique and captivating.
Awesome. I'm adding that to my playlist as we speak.
Yes.
It's funny when you think about it, like learning a new language,
Yeah.
exploring a new culture. It's like opening the door to a whole new world of experiences.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It broadens your perspective,
Right.
and it connects you to something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that feeling you get when you travel to like a new place.
Right.
And immerse yourself in the local culture.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe learning a few Welsh phrases could be your next adventure.
Right. Imagine surprising people with a friendly hello
Yeah.
or diolch, which means thank you.
Yeah.
Just those small gestures that can really brighten someone's day.
Absolutely. And you never know, you might spark up a conversation
Yeah.
and like a chance to connect with someone on a deeper level.
Exactly.
Speaking of connections, you mentioned earlier that the Voyager Golden Record
Yes.
includes a greeting in Welsh.
It does. It's a really beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
Sending a message of peace and goodwill from the Welsh people
Wow.
out to the vast unknown.
It really makes you think, like, if we had the chance to send one message into the cosmos, representing all that is Welsh culture,
Right.
what would it be?
Wow, that is a really profound
I
question.
don't know, right?
And, there's no one right answer.
Right?
But I think it really does speak to the power of language and culture to transcend boundaries
Yeah.
and connect us to something much larger than ourselves.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Welsh language,
Yeah.
I'm struck by a sense of hope
Hmm.
Despite the challenges it's faced,
Yeah,
it's experiencing this revival,
it is.
this resurgence of interest and
I
pride.
think that's beautifully said.
And it gives me hope not just for the future of Welsh, but for all languages and cultures that are facing an uncertain world.
Absolutely. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, there's always hope.
Yeah.
There's always a reason to celebrate diversity and the richness that different
Yeah.
languages and cultures bring to our world.
And on that note, dear listener, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, keep those ears perked for adventure because you never know where a deep dive will take us next.